Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. I am Crystal, otherwise known as Radiant Owl, your sacred wisdom keeper. Today, this episode of Garden Tea Talks will be discussing Capricorn season themes, and today's theme is building your inner empire, discipline as devotion. So go ahead and grab yourself a cup of tea or coffee or whatever you prefer, get comfortable, and let's have a heartfelt conversation around discipline. So my personal story for this specific episode is, as I was creating it, I was thinking about when I was in high school, and even before that, even in like middle school, right? I had this pattern of a series of really bad days. It seemed like I was just starting to really dread school in general, and I was trying to figure out how I could make it more enjoyable for the long term. And the reason that this is coming up for me at this time is because it's Capricorn mindset, right? The long-term goals, the climb up the mountain, the things that you know you have to get through, the discipline. And so as I thought about it, I wondered how I could make each day just slightly more enjoyable, because I knew that I had many years of having to get through it, right? And for those of you who actually knew me personally or know me personally, I did not finish high school. I ended up dropping out for personal reasons. There was a lot going on in my life, but I did end up getting my GED. I did do several different college courses and things like that. So I did end up pushing through in my own way. But just for this conversation, I want to focus on what I had to do, or what I decided to do to help me push through it while I was in school, just to make it a little bit better. So I remember dreading waking up in the mornings, right? I didn't feel like getting up, getting dressed, and going to classes and sitting through hours and hours and hours of lessons, even though I was pretty good at school, at least for a while when I was really like focused on it. I was doing really good, getting straight A's for a while there. And even though I wasn't enjoying it necessarily, I knew it was something that I had to get through, and I was trying to figure out how to make the best of it. So every morning, I decided to wake up and set affirmations and shift my mindset before I started getting dressed and getting ready. And this is something that, like, I didn't know about manifestation back then or anything like that. I hadn't learned any of these things yet. It was just something that I was determined to figure out how to make each day better, so that I could get through it without the dread, without the cycle of, counting the bad things that were happening, right? So I would tell myself over and over that today is going to be the perfect day. And even though I knew that probably wouldn't be the case, every day couldn't be the perfect day, I had to set my bar as high as I possibly could, so that every little bit that got me closer to that counted, okay? So that was my mindset at the time. So I imagined it. I imagined every part of it going better. Every class, every interaction that I had with my friends, with my other classmates, with my teachers, my homework, I imagined everything going perfectly. And every time something did go right, I give myself proof of this. And I knew that there were certain things that I could and couldn't control. So for example, I knew that if I slowed down just enough to make my handwriting a little bit nicer, I would appreciate the aesthetic. And in my mind, I would know that that was a positive thing, right? It was something beautiful. It was something that I had practiced. It was something I put a little more effort into. It was something that I enjoyed about myself, my good handwriting, right? So I would just take that little bit of extra time to just make sure that I was slowing down and writing things nicer. Okay, that helped. It was just this small tweak that helped me with part of what I could control about making my day go better. And then I would give myself a point, right? So every time something went right, whether it was me doing it, making the effort, or the effort being returned by the universe or whatever, at the time, again, it was just coincidences or me counting my blessings. So every time something went right, I give myself a point. So if my teacher was in a good mood, or I understood the lesson very clearly, or something clicked in my head, or the homework was easy for me, or whatever it was, I had a good interaction with someone, or I made someone laugh, or they made me laugh, every little alignment earned me points. And then when something went wrong, I just decided to move on. No punishment, no guilt, no bad feelings, no negativity at all. I just focused away from it. So this was sort of my first conscious effort of manifesting, even though I didn't know what it was at the time, if that makes sense. And then my after school review was when I would get home, I would count up all my points, right? And the more that I reflected on what I did that went well, the more I reflected on what went well for me, the more I felt really happy about the future and how I could help shape that every single day. And of course, I wouldn't always get it right. Of course, I was going to have bad days, but this helped to limit my bad days and minimize them, even slightly, which helped get the ball rolling, helped the snowball effect of building up to a happier time going through this process that I didn't really want to go through in the first place. And so another thing I did was I made sure that after school, no matter what my situation was, I always spent a little bit of time with myself. And a lot of times this was like singing out loud. A lot of times I had the house to myself because my mother worked to like a block away, but I could literally see her job from the house that we lived at. And so I had the house to myself, but I still felt safe in my small community. And I would just spend a little bit of time either reading or journaling or singing really loudly with the windows open. I didn't care, right? It was just me time. Or dancing in front of the mirror, practicing, or doing any little hobby that was me basically rewarding myself and expressing myself for whatever went right that day, okay? And so by the end of the week, I had a lot of evidence that had built up for things that I was consistently improving on. And I was actively creating small wins that built my confidence. And it really, really helped a lot. And some days were perfect. Some days really did feel perfect, right? Others were still dreadful, but each day had something that helped push me forward. Perfection was never the goal. It was simply to get past the dread and take each day one step at a time so that I could squeeze out as much joy as possible from my day. And so this, to me, is what discipline and devotion looks like. This is Capricorn energy, which is naturally disciplined and long-term oriented. But if we approach it with obligation and rigidity, it can feel like punishment. And even though the difference is subtle, it is powerful. So discipline as a restriction is I have to do this or I must follow that. I'm not worthy if I don't. Discipline as devotion is I choose to do this because it aligns with my growth. It aligns with my vision. It helps me to honor myself through structure, and it helps me align with my higher self and with my soul, right? Discipline as devotion is like tending a garden. You water it, you prune it, and you watch it bloom. You don't force the flowers to grow overnight. You just take small steps to ensure that over time the growth builds up and momentum builds up so that what you have is a beautiful cultivated garden in the end. So here are some ways that you can start building your inner empire this season, no matter what that looks like to you. Empire can bring different visions, different different visuals, different ideas to your imagination, right? It's whatever you see as building your empire or growing this season. Number one is to audit your habits. Figure out what truly serves your growth and figure out what really drains you, and start small to make little shifts to help you get to, again, just bringing as much joy out of every situation as possible and eliminating the things that drain you as much as you can. Number two, setting sacred routines. So even 10 minutes of journaling, meditation, or reflection will compound over time. So micro habits add up to big changes in the long run, and they're easier to digest. Number three is create boundaries with love. Saying no can be just as sacred as saying yes. So say no to things that you know you dread if you have the option to do so, while still saying yes to things that help you grow and build momentum and feel good to your soul, okay? Celebrate consistency over perfection. Every step is building your foundation. Every day you show up is proof of your growth. So It's okay to miss days. Even when you're doing, when you're working really hard on a diet, right? There's different techniques that talk about like the 80-20 or whatever the rule is, right? The rule of thumb, where you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to eat healthy 100% of the time. You don't have to work out and, you know, never miss a day 100% of the time. The effort compounds, okay? So basically what it is that 80% of the time you do your absolute best, and 20% of the time you indulge, because too much restriction is just stifling and it's not sustainable. And so celebrating consistency over perfection is the key here. All right, let's see what other notes I have here. All right, take a moment today to ask yourself, what is one area of my life where I can shift from obligation to devotion? How can I show up for myself in a way that honors my growth rather than punishing me? Write it down and take one small action this week to honor that intention. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me today for this episode of for this episode of Garden Tea Talks in the Sacred Garden Temple. I hope you'll join me again next week and throughout the 2026 year. I have a lot of really special videos. The next few videos that I'll be doing will be about Capricorn season themes as we move through Capricorn season. Each of my videos will be aligned with the season that I'm working through so that we can grow together in the garden. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and continue to join me if you're interested in these kinds of videos. And if you have any requests, please feel free to let me know. Until next time, I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye for now.